Hello and welcome to the Kick in the Creatives podcast, hosted by myself, Sandra Busby, and my fellow creative Tara Roskell, offering you interviews, inspiration, motivation, and a gentle prod in the right direction. And for lots more information, challenges, and other useful tools to help you get creating, you can go to www.kickinthecreatives.com. And of course, this is where you can also find today's show notes. Enjoy the show. So how am I going to start this one then? Because last time I started different.
I think you just start with welcome.
Have I got to go back to welcome?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to today's episode, which is episode 101 and part 2 of our previous special 100th episode. So to celebrate our 100th episodes, we invited you listeners to ask us anything. And we got so many questions that we made it into a special double episode. So today is part 2. But before we get onto that, we want to say a big thank you to our latest Ko-fi supporters who have actually helped us get to 101 episodes. So thank you. We've got Joe Richardson. Thank you both for all you do. A special thanks to Tara for your help with reflections. Have a cuppa on me. How did you help her with reflections? Because I didn't know this.
Joe's my old college mate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she helps the school that her kids go to. She helps out with the art, and there was a competition they needed a judge for.
Oh, so that's it.
Yeah, so she wrote me in.
I remember you telling me about that. Also, Anna, Nicole, Eve, thank you so much. Kathy Farrell, thanks for all you do, she says. And Donna Holmes, absolutely love every single episode from you. Always have so much goodness to tell and peppered with your infectious laughter. You guys are my go-to podcast. How cool is that?
Oh, how lovely.
I love that comment. Thank you.
Yeah, we really do appreciate that support. Not only does it help us with the cost of running Kick and Creatives, it also helps keep us doing what we do, and it shows that you like what we're doing. So thank you very much.
And like last time, this is where we would normally talk about what Tara and I have been up to, and also talk about what you've all been doing on social media. But because we had so many questions, we said that these 2 episodes, we would leave all that out, because otherwise we're going to be literally saying yes answers and no answers, because we want to fit them all in, and we want to be able to elaborate a little bit. So we're going to go straight on to answering your questions. So as before, we're going to read out each question in no particular order, and we're both going to give our answers individually. So Tara, you might as well go with the first one.
Yeah, so I got Nick Tate West, and she says, how do you push through on those days, weeks when you're like, screw the podcast, I want to draw instead? So do you want me to answer?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah?
Go for it.
Well, I like doing the podcast, so that wouldn't be one of the screw that things. I don't like the admin that comes with it. So the show notes, the graphics, all those boring type bits, they would be the bits I would say screw those. But,
yeah.
And also I get really nervous for interviews. So I wouldn't say screw the interview, but I'd be like, oh, I don't like this very much. But for me, it'd be screw the graphic jobs that come in. But it's one of those things where you know you've got to do it. And if you don't do it, it ain't going to get done. So if we didn't do all those boring bits, then we wouldn't actually have the podcast, and I like the podcast, so yeah, there you go. Have to do it.
I've never felt like that with podcasting either, actually, because one thing a lot of us find is that there aren't many people in our direct circles who are actually interested in art or want to talk about it. So, and you don't want to bore people by talking about it either, do you? So podcasting is a chance to really dive in with someone who absolutely loves talking about it just as much as I do. So no, I'd never think screw the podcast. That's one of the things I love doing. But like Tara, it's the editing and things like that it takes hours of our time to do those sort of bits. But we absolutely love recording it, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy who's written a book. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this word on the podcast. Am I allowed to say it?
Oh God, I'll have to. Shall I put a bleep?
Yeah,
bleep. You did whisper it, didn't you?
Yeah, I did whisper it. But anyway, he talks about that whatever you do, it's always a sandwich.
Oh no, I'm going to have to put 2 bleeps this in? Do you think we get in
know.
trouble if we just leave it in?
No, I think we got to bleep it. In case children are listening. But
Yeah.
even though they probably know much worse words than that. But basically, he's saying that even if you do a job you absolutely love, there'll always be the icky bits.
Yeah, don't say it
Basically.
again.
No, I won't say it again. But basically, whatever you do, there's always icky bits. So
Yeah,
you might
and
as well.
things like now I've got to try and find out how to find a bleep that I can put over a word and how
Yeah.
to add it in. So
Yeah.
thanks.
You're welcome. Yes.
Okay, so we have gotten another question from Nick Tay West as well. And she says, aside from Danny Gregory, who has been your favourite artist to interview so far? Well, obviously, Nick must remember how excited I was when we interviewed Danny Gregory. So much I was literally like a rabbit in the headlights. And I mean, he must have thought I was some kind of loony afterwards. But yeah, he was great.
You didn't
but
stop talking, actually, did you, for that
no,
one?
I think that was nerves, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, you answer first, Tara, because I've got an answer.
Oh,
But
okay.
You answer first.
Well, there's been so many, and I think you remember the more recent ones rather than the ones from a long time ago. So I really enjoyed talking to Dan Whiteson, and that was from episode 87. And that was more because, I mean, a lot of people perhaps wouldn't know of him, but I tried a couple of his Sunday art classes during lockdown, and they were teaching art history, but then he'd do a practical lesson.
Yeah,
And
he
I
was
just
great.
I just love the way he did that. But when we actually had the episode, you talked to him, he was like that art teacher that you would love to have at school. That really encouraging person who was all about, I want to make this fun. I want to make you enjoy this so you love it. So yeah, he really inspired me. But can I have two?
Yeah, go
Oh no,
for
I've
it.
actually got three. But
Oh, well, that's a bit greedy now.
I know. Well, there was another one I really enjoyed, which was Lynn Chapman, episode 45. Just because it was so inspiring to me that she'd started off as an illustrator, but she was now getting paid to be an urban sketcher in really interesting ways. I'm not going to tell you what the ways are, you've got to go and listen. But just that someone could do something and make money by doing something they absolutely adored like that. And she wasn't having to, she wasn't teaching it. She was just doing something really, really unusual. So go and listen to that. Also, Chris Riddell, great talk. Chris Riddell, episode 72.
He was great. I mean, we love talking to all of our people that we interview. We absolutely love. But yeah, there are certain ones that really you do remember. One of, obviously, I have to say my absolute favourite that I've done is when I interviewed, and you couldn't come on. I think you were ill or something. So I had to do this one on my own. I didn't mind. It was Tracy Fletcher King. And we had been online friends for years and years, about 10 years at least. And we talked to each other a lot via email. I used to send her parcels and she'd send me parcels. But we'd never actually spoken for real, like with voice. It had always been emails and things. So it was the first opportunity I had to speak to her outside of those letters and emails. And, I had every intention at some point of trying to meet her one day, just to meet her in the flesh. But but unfortunately she passed away earlier this year. She had cancer and she'd been battling with that for several years. So that was so sad. But she was such an inspiring person. So her humor was insane and I loved being able to talk to her. But I think the first thing we did, this is obviously before we started recording, is we both just cried. We just couldn't believe it. Yeah, we were just both crying.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, we both couldn't speak for a few minutes. It was just really weird. It was like, oh my god. Yeah, you
God,
can
I'm glad I wasn't on that as well. That
I
been
think
weird.
Yeah, you might have been a bit of the third wheel in that one. I think
would have been.
No, it was absolutely lovely. So that's hands down my absolute favourite interview for sure.
Do you know what episode that was?
I think it was very early on. I think it was probably within the first sort of 5 or 6 episodes, whether it was maybe episode 3 or 4, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think it was the first interview I'd ever done as well. And that, I mean, I was glad if I was going to do that, it was with her. But I wasn't used to interviewing people at all. And like you, I get really nervous with interviews. Not so much now, actually. Not so much now. And some people you just feel instantly at ease with, don't you?
I still get tongue-tied when I try and ask questions in interviews.
I know I get like that sometimes, but
Yeah.
anyway, Carol Whitmore, she says, "How did you guys meet?" What happened was I was being interviewed on a podcast called Your Creative Push by Youngman Brown, also known as Mike Young, and Tara happened to be listening to that interview and thought, wow, she's amazing. I really like her. I really need to get her on my podcast. This girl is awesome. So she contacted me. I was so nervous on that other podcast. I was so nervous, and he's such a lovely guy, he really is. But I was terrified because I've never been interviewed before. And then you answered because I'd done one already. I thought, no, that's fine. I can do this. So you interviewed me on your podcast, didn't you? And we just really hit it off. And after quite a lot of emails back and forth and just sort of getting to be good friends, really. We used to chat on the phone and things like that. We obviously started Kicking the Creatives, which is a whole new story, but we started Kicking the Creatives, did our own podcast, and we'd been doing that for about a year, hadn't we, Tara? Was it about a year?
But it must have been 6 months to a year, mustn't it?
Yeah, I think it was closer to a year where we'd done all of this and we had never yet met. And I do remember actually when we were doing the interview with Danny Gregory, whether it was after we'd finished recording or through in the interview, I remember him saying, "Have you two met yet?" And we were like, "No, not yet." But and at the time, I didn't know that you and Paul, my husband, had actually set up a meeting. But of course, you couldn't say that because I didn't know. But I remember Danny Gregory saying you need to meet because otherwise it's just going to become this big thing. And I remember thinking at the time, oh, that's quite true. It could be really, get more of the more we leave it, the more it could
elephant
get
in the room.
a thing. Yeah. And but I like I say, I had no control over that anyway because Paul basically pretended he was taking me on a spa weekend one weekend, when the real plan was that Tara and Tara's partner Kevin would just show up at the bar at the same time we did, and we'd gone downstairs, and it was quite funny because I was feeling really lazy. I was like, "Oh, do we have to go down yet?" And he's like, "Yes, we really need to go down." I was like, "Okay." So we went down to the bar, and ironically, I was staring at a painting on the wall when Tara arrived, and I turned around, and there she was. And I absolutely was gobsmacked when I turned around. But the most stupid thing was, bearing in mind this spa was up in Northamptonshire, and I did wonder why we'd gone so far to a spa when we've got them all over the place around where we live. I just remember thinking, I cannot believe the coincidence is ridiculous. I really thought it was a coincidence that you were standing there looking at me. And I think the volume just that night had gone up to a ridiculous amount of decibels. And I'm sure the only kind of person that could have heard me was a dog because I was squeaking like a loon, wasn't I?
Yeah, well, I actually thought this is a big wind up because you kept not a wind up. I knew you didn't know, but then on the day I thought you'd sussed because you were texting me and saying, "Oh, we're going to Northamptonshire. Is that anywhere near you? We're staying in Kettering." I'm thinking, "I'm sure I've told her before that I live near Kettering," and I was thinking, "Oh, she knows now." And I remember I was walking the dog with Kevin and we're in the woods. She was going, "Oh, we've just got to this thing. Are you anywhere near?" And I'm like, "No, it's no." And of course, it's like 15 minutes down the road where you were, and
Yeah.
it's like, "No, nowhere near." How could you not know?
I literally didn't know, and I literally thought it was a coincidence. I just could not believe it, and I think we ended up staying up to about 2:30 in the morning, didn't we?
Yeah, something like that.
Over several drinks.
Yeah,
It was great. No, it was
I was
brilliant.
terrified.
Yeah, well, I would have
Yeah,
been as well, and I think if it did me a favour not knowing, because I think I
yeah, I
would
think
have
it
been,
did.
I
Yeah,
would have been terrified.
yeah.
But as it happened, it was absolutely fine.
It's a shame that Paul didn't contact Kevin if they could have connected. So
Oh
neither
God,
of us
yeah.
know about it. Would have been excellent, wouldn't it?
Well, then we'd have both been. This
Yeah.
is such a coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
So you've got a question now, haven't you?
I have, yeah. Did your family support you becoming artists? Do you want to kick off? Do you want me to?
Yeah, I don't mind kicking off.
Yeah, go on.
So, yeah, I couldn't have asked for more support and encouragement from all of my family. I mean, obviously, my mum and dad just are so encouraging. They love what I do. Mum and dads, they always love what you do, don't they? And so they've been brilliant. And my husband, Paul, he built me a studio, so he must have had a lot of faith in my art to do that, because that's it's not cheap to build a studio. And no, so yeah, really, really supportive and encouraging, and yeah, never had a problem in that department at all. What about you?
No, I've never really had a problem either. My parents always said that I should do art because they knew I loved it. So, but I think they were actually quite relieved when I said I was considering studying graphic design, because I did like a 2-year general art and design, a kind of like a foundation course. And I think they thought, oh, I don't know how you're going to make money as an artist.
Yeah,
It's one of those, I think, which all parents would worry about that.
yeah,
And especially back then, there wasn't the internet. So, and we didn't really know any artists that were making money. We knew artists that didn't make money. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
The struggling artist,
Yeah,
starving artist.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So I think when I said I was thinking about studying graphic design, they said, "Oh, yeah, that's a good idea," because you could see that you could earn money doing that. And then Kevin has always been brilliant. He's like my number one fan. He's got my art on his walls because he wants to, not because I've said let's put it up there. He goes, "Oh, I was doing some of the faces the other day," and he said, "Oh, I'll have that one." I was like, "Oh, will you?" Indeed. It's like, but which is really nice.
yeah.
So yeah, no, he's always supported me as well. So I think we've both done pretty well on that.
So she's also asked, when did you know you had to do art? So when I painted a mural on my daughter's wall when she was about 6, I'd always drawn when I was a kid, but I kind of was one of these people that just stopped. And then when she was little, she got obsessed with The Little Mermaid. And I used to do the odd doodle with the kids here and there, obviously. But, when I did this mural on her wall, it was The Little Mermaid, and I'd sort of got so into it that instead of just doing one painting on her wall of a Little Mermaid, I made the whole room an underwater scene. I got really into it. And I remember at the time thinking I'd forgotten just how much I love painting and drawing. I just love it. And I just wished that I could, at that point, make it a bigger part of my life. That said, it was still some months, I reckon, after that before I finally bought a sketchbook and started drawing regularly. But if there was a moment I could pick when I was painting that mural, I think that was the trigger. What about you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've always done art in some form, and I think since I was a little kid, even I've always known that I wanted to do art in some form.
Yeah.
My mum tells me that my headmistress at my little school always used to pull my mum aside and say, "Oh, Tara's art is great. She's really good at the sticky table and all that." Where you had to have your bits that you could make things. But I mean, I don't remember things. I don't remember being very good at that age. Like 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
But I obviously must have liked it. And I remember going to school in America, because we lived in America for a couple of years, and I never thought I was any good there because their art was all pre-prepared stuff. So they would give you all the bits to put together. It was very formulaic.
Yeah.
There was very little creativity. But there was a kid there, and I've talked about him before. He was absolutely amazing. He used to doodle in class sometimes, and he was amazing. He could just seem to draw anything at like the age of 7 out of his
Wow.
head. I think cowboys and horses he used to draw. But I couldn't do anything like that. So I never really considered myself to be good at that. And I guess it was as I got a little bit older, when we came back to England, I started to think, oh, I do like drawing. I used to draw all the time. But I like I said, I went to college and then I did graphic design. I think it just got lost on the way.
Yeah.
The art. I was always doing some kind of art. So do you remember I've shown you my characters that I've created over the years?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But I lost the drawing by hand. It just kind of, I guess when you've done a job all day that was sucking your creativity, that you just don't feel like doing it. And the stuff I used to do, like creating characters, they were always about, could I sell those in the end? Could I try and license them? They were never pure for the love of it. If
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah. So it's only when we started doing this a few years ago that I started creating by hand again.
Did you ever try looking up that little boy again from America now? I wonder if he's doing it now.
I can't remember what his last name was.
Oh, what a shame. What a
His
shame.
name was Wing, Wing.
Right.
But I can't remember his last name.
Oh, what a shame, because that would be so cool, wouldn't it, to see if he's actually
Oh, it
doing
would
it now.
be. I should imagine he's amazing now. But
Yeah.
yeah.
If he carried it on, yeah.
This is also from Carol Whitmore, and she says, if you were to have an artist, mentor, or collaborator, who would that be? Do you want to go?
Tara and we've got each other, which is great. And we're constantly talking to each other about how how our latest piece of art isn't working or is working or whatever. So that's great. And I also have my friend Kerry, who's a very sort of close friend of mine. I've known her for years as well, and she's also an artist. So we encourage each other a lot too. And she sometimes comes along and paints in my studio, which is lovely. I only wish my Uncle Danny was still alive, though, because he was my mentor for a long time. And he was the one that first said to me, "You are a real artist." And I really it meant so much when he said that, because he was brilliant, such a brilliant artist. And those words just meant the absolute world when he said it. And so I've been lucky to have quite a few mentors and people around that, I can be encouraged by, I guess. And we collaborate all the time, Tara, don't we? We do this, so I guess that means you're my dream collaboration.
Oh, thank you so much. I do my
dream or nightmare, depends.
Both, probably. Well, I've also put that basically you as my collaborator, because we've done loads of collaborating and we're all still collaborating now, aren't we?
Yeah.
As we speak, we're collaborating.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely you. And if I've got a problem with a bit of my art or something's annoying the hell out of it, or, those lacking in confidence thingies, I'll talk to you about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also Kevin, he's very good like that. He's very honest about my art, but he's not cruel.
Yeah,
so if he doesn't like, if he doesn't like something, he'll go, yeah, it's all right, not your best, but he's not like, but he will also say, oh, I love that. So that's great. But as a mentor, I couldn't actually say a specific person, but I'd probably like to have someone who's good at the business side of things. So I'd really like to learn from an artist who's really good at business and could tell me how do you find the niche for your art and how do you sell it?
Yeah.
So if you could choose to learn an art process you haven't experienced, what would it be and why?
Okay, so I would love to learn to make sculpture. I've always fancied that, like with clay, making small kind of to medium sized clay. I'm not talking about the great big sculptures you see in the middle of a roundabout. I'm talking about, the ones you'll see on someone's house.
Gnome. You'd make a nice gnome.
that kind of weird creatures and things in sculpture. Yeah, I'd love to. If I had the time, I'd love to dabble with that.
Yeah, that does surprise me, actually.
Mm.
I would probably have a go at pure abstract painting. I think that might be interesting, but it wouldn't be necessarily because I want to learn pure abstract, but I would like to learn that so I then could incorporate into a semi-abstract work, like into faces in some way. But it's more like I'd want to learn that process to kind of absorb it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Also, I would love to try, and this isn't really a process, I'd like to try painting really big. Yeah. In a studio where it doesn't matter. So can you imagine if you'd got 1.5 meters by 1.5 meters canvas? Yeah. Just going mad on it. That'd be cool.
And it's very different.
Yeah.
Working very big is very different. You have to use very different brushes. And I remember finding that with my marbles, thinking, how am I going to do this realism painting when it's huge? And it worked. It worked. But oh my gosh, it was a whole different way of, I had to rethink everything. Not in my style, obviously, but in the tools
application.
I was using. Yeah. Because if I'd have been going at that canvas, which was 5 foot by 3.5 foot or 4 foot or something, with a tiny brush. Obviously, sometimes I did use a tiny brush, but obviously that was for more detailed bits. But when you're getting into it, you just have to go for it. It's quite different.
Yeah, I mean, I'd need some really big crayons. I don't know where I'd
Yeah,
get
you
them.
get massive crayons.
Yeah, but I think if it was
Maybe
in
you should invent
a
some. Yeah.
studio where it doesn't matter if you made a mess,
Yeah.
and I'd perhaps get some paint out.
Mm.
But also, you can get those, and I still haven't tried them. I've got some in my drawer. You know the oil bars, which are
Yes.
like oil pastels, but they actually proper oil paint.
Yeah.
Those would be quite cool to try big. I can't bring myself to get them out of my drawer. I've got this little sample pack to try, but I don't want the mess. Anyway, next one. Shall I read the next one out?
Yep.
This is from a magpie's nest. I think that must be an Instagram handle. And they say, how do you motivate yourself after you've done a really bad drawing? I'm no good at this, so why bother? After you've done a really great drawing, I'm never able to create anything this good ever again. Or when you're in a creative rut, I just don't want to draw. So how do you get through that?
Okay, so after a bad drawing, it can be hard, and I have been guilty of not drawing for quite a while after that. Not so much now, though, because over time I've learned that one drawing has absolutely no effect over another, really. It's just down to the confidence thing, isn't it? And it might be that the next drawing's absolutely fantastic. So, obviously, after a great drawing, I never have a problem. It just makes me more excited about doing another. And I just want to do it again, you know. When I feel in a rut, sometimes I just allow myself a couple of weeks break. Usually by the end of that time, I'm ready to go again, or I'll just do something a bit less taxing, like simple sketching rather than perhaps a full-on painting. But I know exactly what you mean. It's easy to do a drawing and it goes wrong, and then you automatically think your next one's going to be awful. You suddenly just think, I can't draw. And that is when it can affect your next painting. It's not about your actual skill, it's about your mindset. And I've learned over time now to kind of ignore it. It was just a bad day at the office, and the next one could be absolutely fine, and just carry on.
Well, my answer to all of that is to set yourself a challenge. Because if you create a bad drawing, it's just a series of many drawings. If you create a good drawing, you've still got to do one tomorrow because it's part of a challenge. And, it just means that even if you get a bit stroppy, because I do get stroppy if I create a bad drawing, it's really annoying. But you've just got to do another one, haven't you, the next day? And that sort of lifts your mood, I think, knowing that it's just part of a series and it's not the entire everything. It's not that one drawing isn't a thing in itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So definitely do a challenge, and that one drawing is just part of a big something.
That was a good answer, Tara.
Thank you.
We've got Illustrated Mix. What one thing, arty or otherwise, makes you passionately nostalgic? So, Tara, do you want to answer that one first?
Yeah, but I haven't got anything arty, nothing arty at all. But the smell of buttered popcorn, which I don't even like that much, reminds me of a skating ring I used to go to as a kid in America.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because they used to have this skating ring, and we used to go quite often with another English family who were also living in America, who the guy worked with my dad. And I just loved going there, but they had all popcorn machines that you could get popcorn on. So, of course, even when you're skating, you could smell this buttered popcorn. So, yeah, that takes me back to that place. So now Kevin microwaves it sometimes, and it does take me back there, but I don't really like buttered popcorn very much.
No, I like the toffee popcorn.
I'm not bothered with popcorn. I'll eat it, but I'm not fussed.
Oh, I like it as long as it's smothered in caramel. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I am a very nostalgic type of person. I mean, right. For instance, there's this shop. When we went to Brighton.
Oh yeah.
I don't think we went to this shop, but down the lanes, I think it's the North Lanes, there's a shop called Snooper's Paradise.
You took me in this one with weird stuff.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I must have taken you in there then, because that is what it is. It's full of weird stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really strange. But when you walk into this shop, it's like old vinyls, and there's toys, vintage toys, and there'll be things like Fisher Price telephones and the ones we used to play with in the 70s, when we were kids. And yeah, I find when I go around shops like that, and I remember last time I went in, there was a tea service there with teacups and saucers. And it was exactly the same set that my nan used to have when we were kids, this sort of green, and just they were identical. And yeah, anything like that. If I see things from years ago, and also marbles really make me feel passionately nostalgic. And that might be why I paint them sometimes, because me and my sister, we used to play with them at my nan's house when I was small. She had this like solitaire board, and we used to play with these marbles. And so whenever I see marbles, or they make me remember those times. And yeah, and I think that's why they feature in my paintings a lot, and music as well sometimes.
Oh yeah,
Bee
music can really
Gees.
take you back, can't it?
Oh yeah, then I used to
Yeah.
I used to dance years ago, and we used to do all the festivals, and we used to do like different shows, and in the summer for holiday makers and things like this. And back then it was Fame. Do you remember Fame? Um and Night Fever and all those kind of songs, and I love all of that.
Was this as a kid?
Well, yeah, until I was sort of until I was a teenager, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did it a lot. I mean, I did it from when I was really, really young till I got older. But yeah, used to do loads of shows and things like that. So
I didn't
sometimes
know if this was like a professional butling's job or something.
we did illegally get paid a couple of times. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, and when I go to the theatre, that's another thing. A lot of the theatres I go to, especially in and around Eastbourne and Hastings, all those places, I mean, we used to dance and we used to do the shows. And when I go and see plays and things like that, because Paul and I love going to the theatre and seeing plays, and I know what's behind the scenes, so I can look on that stage and I think, right, I know that down there, if you turn right, I know exactly what the backstage looks like, and I know all the little things that take you behind the stage, under the stage, down to the changing rooms. And so whenever I go to the theatre, that's another thing that takes me right back to where, yeah.
Well, when you were saying about music as well, that reminded me of when I was a teenager, maybe about 13 or something like that, the excitement of when a new album was out.
Oh, yeah.
Because I remember being around a friend's house and she'd just got the new Nick Kershaw album.
Oh, my goodness.
And we were so excited. And I just remember listening to it on a tape recorder. But you just don't get that excitement now, do you? I mean, sure, kids don't get that excitement because music's just on tap, isn't it now?
Well, I don't think they've even got the focus anymore to listen to a whole song. They just
probably not. But
no.
we used to. It'd be like you knew an album was coming out at a certain time by your artist, but you hadn't got the money to buy it. So you'd be trying to tape it off the radio,
and they always talked over it.
Yeah, they did deliberately.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was so nostalgic because if I hear Nick Kershaw now, that takes me back to being in her room, listening to that album.
Yeah.
Shall I say the next one?
Yeah.
And that is from Mary Flynn. And she said, did your spouses ever resent the time you spent with your art? Do you want to kick off?
Oh, that was a really interesting question, actually. And I never really thought about it before I read that. And I thought,
really?
I thought, does he? Could he? Is it possible? So I actually asked him.
Oh, really?
I said, have you ever resented the time I spend painting and drawing? But of course, he says he's absolutely fine with it. That said, I am careful. I do try and balance my time. So I still spend a lot of time with him over the weekends as well, because I think, if I never spent any of the weekends with him, he probably would get a bit fed up. But if, so yeah, it is a balance. I would never put that before him, but yeah, I just try and be fair about it. So yeah, but he's fine. He's never, well, he says he's never resented the time I spend with my art. So I just believe him. And he built me a studio. So I'm guessing that kind of answers it, really. What about you, Tara?
He wants to get rid of you for a
bit.
Maybe
Maybe that's why he built me the studio.
Did you put a lock on the other side?
No, but it did tie me up in there once.
Oh dear.
Yeah, but that was don't get any ideas. It was nothing like that. We were doing one of our silly YouTube videos.
Oh, the one we did, yeah.
Yeah, for Kicking the Creatives. And I said, right, I know this is a really weird thing to ask you, Paul, but can you come in my art studio and can you just tie me to this chair? And he was like, what? And then I said, don't get excited about this. We're not trying any new experiments here. I just need you to tie me up quickly. And then when I call you back, you're going to have to untie me. So I just had to do this really silly little bit of video footage with me tied up. I can't remember what the video was about now.
Constraints.
But he could.
Heart
Oh, that's right,
constraints.
working with constraints.
Yeah.
And he could have been really horrible. He could have just left me
Left
there,
you
but
there.
he
Yeah.
didn't. And he didn't do it very tight either, which is nice.
No, good.
Yeah. So, what about you? Does Kevin ever? Do you think?
No, I actually think he quite likes it because it means that he can watch what he likes on TV, so he can watch sport without me moaning, I think.
Yeah.
And I would actually say, if anything, it's more the other way around because he's a mad golf player.
Yeah.
He loves golf. And I'm probably more the person that gets annoyed because he's playing golf so much. Because in the summer, it'll be like, because he plays every Saturday morning, but then in the summer, it'll also be a Thursday night he plays. And then sometimes it's also, oh, I've also got a tournament on Sunday. So basically, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, Thursday night. And then odd times it'd be like, oh, I'm going to meet my mate, another day as well, maybe in the afternoon. So yes.
So, yeah, I see if Paul did that. I suppose I'd just go, oh, I can draw.
It was fine. It wasn't so bad. It's when we got the pup.
It's the pup, isn't it? That's what's
Although some of the time I just think as well, because I think, when he was going out to work rather than working from home so much, the weekend would be the time you got to see each other.
Yeah.
So if he was out on a Saturday morning and a Sunday morning, by the time he'd get back, he'd be tired from playing golf.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be able to do much. So yeah.
Anyway, this question comes from Paul's cousin, Jeremy Jones Bateman, and he says, if you had to paint the same thing for the rest of your life, what would you choose? So what's your answer to that, Tara?
Well, I bet we could say each other's here.
Yeah. Yours would be faces.
Yeah, and yours would either be marbles or glass.
Glass, yeah. And it would be glass. Why faces, first of all?
Do you know, I couldn't actually pinpoint why faces, but I don't know.
Maybe it's because they're all so different.
They are also different, but also it's like, I don't like complicated. And to me, big scenes are complicated. Like if you've got things with loads of windows or a landscape, there's so many different things going on. I like just that one thing to concentrate on.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be the same face. Like my 50 day challenge. It'd be different faces. Yeah. So why glass? Or would it be glass or marbles?
It would be glass, and I think
that include marbles.
Yeah, because then I could do anything made of glass. Exactly. Yeah. But I think because with glass you can always paint or draw other things reflected in it. So essentially, it means I can still paint anything.
Ah, very clever.
And actually, it's funny. I noticed a little while ago in one of my wine bottle paintings, and I kind of saw this shape, and from a distance, I thought, "Oh God!" I just realised that's actually me. Obviously, there was no detail in it; it was just a shape. I realised that was actually a reflection of me. So I could play around with that at some point.
You could put yourself into every painting, couldn't you?
Yeah, as a signature.
Yeah,
yeah. Okay, so next question. Do you want to ask this one?
Yeah, this is Esther Arroyo, and she says, what about art competitions? I personally know some artists who make a living or at least get a decent amount of money from taking part in contests.
Well, I want to know I want to know where these contests are that you can just make a living from. My God. I mean, I've entered the odd one, and I've even won an award from one, but it's not something I do very often at all, to be honest, and I probably should enter more of them, but I suppose, I get put off if you have to pay to enter, because I was thinking, I don't want to do that, because I just think it's I don't know, it's a little red flag for me. And then quite often another competition comes along and I've missed it because I didn't know it was even on. So
yeah,
I would like to enter more, but it's just I never really do very often. What about you?
Well, did you win money for that one that you entered?
No, I just won an award. But then that actually made me able to say to be an award-winning artist.
Yeah. But like I've told you before, I can say award-winning artist because I won a hamster cage when I was about 7.
Why not?
Yeah. I think, stuff like that's quite weird. But it's just because she's saying that her friends are making a decent amount of money. So they're obviously getting some quite big pots, aren't they? They're winning some big, But I don't really enter competition. I think I've entered the odd one or two in the past. But like you, they seem too expensive. because, if they're like 35 quid here, 35 quid there, that soon mounts up to quite a bit of money, unless you're actually winning them, doesn't it? And the
Yeah,
chances, if depending on how many artists, is quite slim of you
very
winning,
slim.
because
Yeah,
it's not just about, are you the best artist, it's all about opinion, isn't it?
exactly.
When you enter these competitions and it's to get shown in the gallery, like big London galleries, or like in Birmingham, they have a Royal Birmingham Society of Artists.
Yeah,
I've entered those before. I didn't get in the London one, but I've got into the Birmingham one. Not won it or anything, but it's been shown. But to be honest, it didn't get me anywhere because nobody bought it. So, I suppose I have the pleasure of could say that I've been exhibited in the
yeah.
gallery, but yeah, no, not really.
Anyway, we've got Kate Polakek would love some tips on setting up studio space, whether a small corner or a room in the house or something outside the home. How to do it on a limited budget, any lessons learned from setting yours up, what would you change, what's your ideal dream setup, and would you consider sharing space with another artist? So loads of questions all in one there. And also art by Christina, hang on, art by
Rempter?
Christina
Christina
Rempter. She also says, I would love some tips on setting up studio space too, and what's budget friendly. And if you don't mind, I'll answer this.
Yeah, because you know more than me.
Well, I would say go back and listen to episode 15 because, and it was called How to Make the Best of Your Creative Space. And that's whether it's, a corner of your bedroom or an art studio. And we share loads of tips in there on that. So all I would say, because this is an epic question. We could do a whole episode, which we have done on this subject. One of the most important things I would say to consider is light. So that would be the first thing I would consider if you have the option to choose a space in your house or outdoors. Make sure the light's not going to be, a problem, because it needs to really be a light that doesn't change too much, maybe not direct south facing. North facing is obviously ideal. As for sharing a space, well, my friend Kerry, she doesn't have a studio of her own, so she comes to paint in mine sometimes, and it's lovely. I like the company. She doesn't, except probably only every now and then when she's got a painting on the go, she might come in a couple of days a week, but it's really nice. I always dreamed of having my own space, and Paul built me one, so I guess I have my dream space already. And I learned lessons from having the spaces I've tried before that have made me able to say, right, no, I'd made that mistake last time, so this time I'm going to do this, and this time I'm going to do that. So I would say definitely go back and listen to that episode, because that will probably answer all of those questions in much more depth.
Yeah, I don't have much to add, really. My studio is big, makeshift, messy, because it's really my office, so it's not really ideal. I've got loads of those cheap plastic drawers to store my art materials in, but they're sort of ever expanding because I'm a bit of an addict to art materials, like most of us probably are.
Yeah.
But I did find these things that I thought were really good a little while ago, and they're these little mini sets of drawers that will fit pens in. So they're kind of, they're like a bit longer than the pen, and I don't know how wide, maybe 15 centimeters wide, these drawers, but they're great because you never know what to do with pens. I had like millions of pencil cases.
Yeah.
But you get a set of these, set like 5 drawers, so at least that keeps those a little bit tidier. Regarding sharing a space, I would hate it. I would not want to share an art space at all.
Is that because you were an only child, Tara?
Wasn't I?
You didn't have. Oh no, you weren't. Oh yeah, but you were for 10 years. You've got 12 years between you and your brother.
I tell you what would be all right. I wouldn't mind sharing if you had so you weren't in the same room. You had your own studio, but then you had like a separate, tea making thing that you shared. That would be all right. Yeah. But I wouldn't actually like to be in the same room. I don't know.
I guess I'm not invited to yours to do any painting anytime soon then.
No, well, you can be in another room next to me and we share the toilet. It'd be right for a day, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
no.
I wouldn't want to be in the same room.
Yeah.
It just it wouldn't work for me. I like being on my own.
Yeah. I don't mind my own company at all. I've never minded my own company, but I don't mind company either. I can take it or leave it. I mean, one or the other doesn't really matter to me.
Oh, I don't mind company, but not when I'm drawing.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I want that
Yeah.
concentration kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice if you shared a space, so you'd got your separate studios, but then you've got this communal area, you know, like a little coffee area and stuff.
Yeah.
That'd be great because you go, oh, I'm stuck on this. Can you come and have a look?
Yeah,
Do you know what
that's
I
what
mean?
that's what Kerry and I do that.
Imagine me and you, we had a studio, we had two
Next
little mini
doors, yeah.
studios next door, but
Yeah.
then we had a little coffee area, and they go,
Yeah.
and you'd come and knock on the other person's door, go, can you come look at this?
See, I'd be too lazy to do that. Well, I'd have to have one of those bells that ring in the other
Oh,
room if you press a button.
you
I
think
just
I'm your
keep ringing the
butler, do
bell.
you? I'm not your butler.
I just go ting ting. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
next question.
Next question is art by Jackie P, and she says, do either of you get dirty while painting? I mean, covered in paint, haha. Or are you calm, careful, and methodical in keeping clean and tidy as you go? Does your workstation say pretty neat?
I think when she says, "Do either of you get dirty while painting?" she was thinking of something else, and then she said, "I mean, covered in paint." That's how I took it, but that might be my mind is in the gutter.
I think your mind's in the gutter. I didn't read it that way at all.
No, I definitely read it that way.
Oh, okay.
No, I've never tried getting dirty while painting. Never tried that. I, as you probably know, Jackie, I've talked about it before, where I'm almost a bit OCD, and when my studio's a mess, it has to be clean before I start. If it's a mess, I don't even want to go in there. So before I go in to paint, I'll sweep the floor in there, or I will. And like between each painting, I have to then give it a thorough clean and then take the table covering off and cover it with a new clean one. And yeah, I am quite, yeah, I do like keeping it tidy. But you know that when I see these artists like on Instagram and that, and they're in their studio space, and it is just like a bomb has gone off. You know, it's like literally covered in paintings all over the place, paint all up the walls, and I think, wow, you know, that is really a sign of a prolific artist, and that's what a real artist should look like. That's a real art studio. But I couldn't work in that. I just couldn't work amongst that chaos. I know I couldn't.
Well, if I just showed you a picture now of my room, if I took you a little video, you'd say, oh, she's definitely not tidy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You know I'm not tidy, honestly.
It always looks tidy to me when you show me around your studio.
It's really not. It's probably because I've tidied it up.
Mm.
But like, I've got things stacked everywhere. So below my desk, I've got boxes with paint in, and then I've got some tablecloths thrown over another box. I've got all sorts of stuff on top because I'm doing this challenge. I'm just really bad because sometimes I get stuff out and I think, might as well leave that out. I might need it tomorrow because I'm doing the challenge, and I probably won't need it tomorrow because I might use something different. But yeah, it just looks a complete mess. So then I'll get to maybe the end of a week or end of 2 weeks and I think, oh, I really better sort that out a bit. So yeah, I'm a right old mess.
Well, Jackie also asked, do you get fed up with artwork? Do you have periods when you don't do any art because you just don't want to? Do you feel the need to get away from everything arty for a day or two? And my answer to that would be yes. There are times when I do feel the need to step away for a bit, even if it's just to give myself a bit of time to recharge. And it's not that I ever get fed up with artwork, because I really don't. It's more that sometimes perhaps I've got quite a lot of plates spinning, and sometimes I've got to put other things first for a bit until I'm caught up. And I think that's probably the case for most of us, isn't it? What about you, Tara?
Yeah, I was going to say the same. I don't really get fed up as such. I just don't necessarily make any. So I'll go through phases. Like I purposely set myself challenges because I don't make art, which is crazy. But sometimes I just don't make art unless I set myself a challenge. And that's purely because I'll start doing other stuff. So I'll start thinking, oh, I need to finish that for Kicking the Creatives. Oh, yeah. I need to do that bit of work. I need to do that. And they all become my priority. If I know I've got deadlines for certain things, that's not a problem at all. It's when there isn't any deadline, there's a problem.
Yeah.
And also when, say, is like making art a priority. Because if I want to do that, art needs to be a priority, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
But we might have done I don't know if we've done a podcast about this before, but I feel guilty about making art sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, we have done an episode on art and guilt, haven't we? The feeling of guilt.
Yeah, because I do feel guilty about making art for my challenge at the moment. So yeah, but then I'll go through phases. So I'll do a challenge for like 50 days, and then I just won't do much for maybe 2 weeks, a month.
Yeah.
I might do little sketches and doodles and stuff, but nothing, nothing too big. So yeah, I have to have breaks in between. I think it works better for me that way.
I think a lot of artists do, to be honest.
Yeah.
Jackie also asked, do you have any art sessions ritualistic, like lighting a candle or doing a short meditation or stretching the body? No, I definitely don't do meditation. I'm rubbish at that. I don't do anything like that. But I do consider when I turn the fairy lights on in my art room, I've got some fairy lights sort of wrapped around some leaves. And as soon as they go on, that is my sign that this is time. This is painting time.
The only thing I do really is I like to do, the YMCA moves.
You don't.
I don't.
Do you sing it?
No, I don't do any of it.
Do you want to do a little demonstration now?
No, I don't do any. I've got no rituals at all. Just get me crayons out. That's it. you imagining me doing YMCA?
I am, and I'm imagining you in this like leather jacket with a leather collar on, like a choker.
Oh, that'll be our new YouTube video, won't it?
Oh yeah,
we'll both be doing YMCA.
Yeah, we should do a video on our rituals. Okay, right. That's why we stopped doing YouTube for a while, isn't it? Because we got too stupid.
Yeah, we did. Shall I read the next question?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Any catastrophes? Oh, this is also from Art by JKP. Any catastrophes? Leaving your acrylic paints out by mistake? Spilling coffee on your drawings? Not making the deadline? Unhappy customer?
Okay, well, for me, none that I can remember, apart from once when, and this was this was a real catastrophe. I wrapped 3 small oil paintings in bubble wrap to take them to an exhibition. And there was a reaction between the bubble wrap and the oils. And even though those paintings they were, I don't know, nearly a year old, they were ruined. They were completely ruined. And that's a really good tip to remember. If you're going to wrap oil paintings, always make sure you wrap them in acid-free tissue paper first before you put bubble wrap anywhere near it. And I think that might actually have been one of the tips we shared in episode 17, and it was called General Tips for Artists. And that was actually, I think you'd probably quite enjoy that episode if you haven't heard that one before. But yeah, basically I learned the hard way that bubble wrap can actually react with oils, and it caused this sort of hideous shiny pattern all over the paintings, and I just couldn't rectify them.
God, especially with 4. I knew you'd done it with 1.
No, 3.
3. Oh, right.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't really had any disasters as such. I do tend to leave the lids off of glue sticks. It's not really a big one, is it? When I'm doing
that's shocking, Tara. I mean, that's such a catastrophe.
Oh, God. No, so I dry them out, but that's not a big deal. But I do remember at college once, we used to have a print room, a screen printing room. And it's when it was that course where you tried all different things out. So we could make screens, and then you'd get your squidgy you'd get ink that you could use on clothes and all sorts. And you'd put your ink down and you'd pull it along over your screen so it just leaves a bit that wasn't masked. And I remember doing that, and somehow at the end it flicked up at me. So I had a top that was literally covered. I was completely covered in paint. And it was stuff
did you not do a selfie and put it on Instagram? That would have been
Selfie?
perfect.
You couldn't do selfies back then.
Oh no, of course.
You'd have to wait 2 weeks.
There probably wouldn't be. Yeah, there probably wouldn't be Instagram either.
No. No. So yeah, that was about the worst. But yeah.
So we've also got Kaveri Barath. What kind of art do you really dislike? What about you, Tara?
I'm not keen on really pretentious art, like modern art, like a banana stuck to a wall, or a dot, or a cross, in a frame. Stuff like that, that to me is more about the artist taking the pic.
Yeah. Oh, God, it's another bleep now. I've got a bleep in.
But yeah, to me, they don't really have any merit apart from, I guess, almost having a laugh in a way.
It's making a mockery out of art,
Establishment, yeah.
taking the
But
mickey.
in a way, the fact that they can do it is kind of art, I guess. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of that. I've spoken about this before. It reminds me of that exhibition of blank canvases. Do you remember I talked about
No,
that?
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
No.
there was an exhibition of blank canvases in London, and basically what it was supposed to be, what the artist was trying to say, was that you see in the canvas what you
What you
see
want.
what you want to see. And I remember I spoke to my dad about this at the time. I said, God, Dad, it's an absolute mockery. It really, I just can't even believe it. And people were buying blank canvases
Oh
because they thought they
God.
could see something in it and all this rubbish. I don't get that. Anyway, and he spoke to my Uncle Danny about it, who I talked about before, who was the artist. And they had a real big conversation about this. And my Uncle Danny really had my dad, because he was saying, no, you don't understand. You don't understand, Ted. Ted's my dad's name. Can you not, if you look at this blank canvas, can you not see the horse? And my dad's going, no, I can't see a horse on that canvas. What are you on about? This is rubbish. And Danny said, no, if you look carefully, you can see, oh, hang on, it's walked away. Can you not see the horse sheep left behind? I've said it now.
Oh no, you need a
so
beep again.
basically he's saying it's a load of horse
Right, yeah.
poo. Let's
Yeah.
say poo.
Yeah.
And then my dad realised what it was all about. So yeah, he also thought it was a load of rubbish, but I totally agree with that. And yeah, my answer was the kind of art I really dislike is the art that deliberately goes out to shock. So I don't like art that is meant to shock someone and is graphically gruesome. And you get, I think there was one woman, didn't she draw, she painted her dead mother or something, and I just can't. Don't get me wrong, that other people might totally disagree with me here, but I don't want art to shock me in a horrible way. I love art to make me feel good and to make me ask questions. And I don't enjoy art that is about things that are going to make me feel uncomfortable. So that's just a personal opinion, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question.
Next question. Alison French Cochrane says, if you were to commission a piece of art from each other, what would you ask for?
I would ask you to do my two dogs in your abstract style.
Would you?
So my dog that I have now and the dog I had before. Yeah. But she'd have to be a ghost. So you'd have to do a
she'd have to be a ghost round the eye of Sherlock, wouldn't she?
Oh, I see now. You're getting ideas. You're inspired already.
Because I did something like that for what's his name? Judge Rinder.
Judge Rinder?
Yeah. When the portrait artist of the week,
Oh, I was going to. Yeah, I thought you meant he'd commissioned you. I was
what? Oh God, no. But portrait artist of the week, I drew him. But on his wall, he had a picture of his dog because he's he loves dogs.
Yeah.
So I drew his dog to share his eye, his smaller eye, basically. So that's how you could do that. But I have to say, I was thinking about drawing some dogs the other day, but I don't enjoy. I like incorporating them into things, but I don't think I like drawing them as much as people.
Right.
But I might try them again. The only trouble I have with dogs in that style as well is it's really difficult if they have markings.
Well, both of mine didn't have any markings at all.
But anyway, yes.
So what about
I don't know if I'd take that commission anyway.
What would you ask me to do?
Well, I would ask you to draw someone's face partially distorted behind a glass bottle. And that would be because I know you love painting glass, but you also did a portrait painting class a few years ago.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be really interesting to see you combine the two. Now, you'd probably reject that commission as well. But
I don't know. I've realised I do like painting flesh now. You see, because when I did that whiskey glass and I got Paul to hold the glass in his hand, and I did some fairy lights wrapped around his hand, and Oh, I love painting hands. So
Yeah.
flesh. And also, yeah, that portrait painting I did, I really enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. And I think just introducing hands and things into some of my still life glass painting, that probably may develop, I think.
Yeah.
I've thought that for a while because I did
What about
enjoy
a
it a lot.
face, though? What about a
Don't
face
know.
through glass somehow?
Maybe.
'Cause
Yeah,
I
maybe.
just think that would it would be fascinating to me to see you do
Mm,
that, because it would
mm.
kind of distort the
Oh, it
face.
would. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I'd be really interested to see, because you'd have, if you had half a face not distorted and then half in the glass, would be really
Yes,
interesting.
yeah, it would. Yeah, I agree. And I might
Yeah.
accept that commission and
Really?
charge you a fortune.
Oh my God, I can't afford it. Just give
So
me a blank canvas and tell me it's on there.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Adrian Sutherland says, "Is Kicking the Creatives anything like your original version of how you hope it would be?" I would say yes. We both had a vision in mind, luckily the same one, and we are slowly building towards it. What's your answer, Tara?
Yeah, I think one of our goals was to encourage people to be creative. That was one of our key goals. And I think that worked. I think we are encouraging people.
Yep.
I am gobsmacked that we've reached 100 podcasts, 101 podcast
Yes.
episodes. Or
Yeah.
is this 100 and a half?
Yeah, I think it's 101.5.
Yeah, okay.
Mm.
But yeah. So, yes, I think it is kind of what we hope for. I want it to develop quicker than it does because I'm
You're so
impatient.
impatient.
I know. But there we go.
Yeah.
So I did the next one.
Yes, please.
That is Flynn's Fine Art. And she says, when you are creating a character, how do you keep it consistent throughout the whole project? And I think she's talking mainly about Felicity Fizz here.
Well, if she's talking about someone like Felicity Fizz, who, if anyone doesn't know, is a cartoon that I developed, developing a style helps, obviously, if you've got a style in the beginning. So for my cartoons, I always use the dip pen and watercolor, and I just, I suppose you can always tell, even if I did a different character, it's still a Felicity Fizz type drawing. Do you see what I mean? And also, I take into account what clothes she's got in her wardrobe, and she'll often wear something she's worn before, and you'll start recognizing things she's worn before. Surroundings, things like if she's in a certain room, she'll have a certain color wallpaper behind her. Sometimes, if there is a background, features, concentrate on their features, like she has knobbly knees, knobbly hands. She's kind of a skinny, long thing with lots of knobbles and droopy boobs. And she, I always make sure that she's always got those kind of features in every. Obviously, I concentrate on those features. And a consistent personality. If I suddenly did Felicity Fizz doing something really sensible, it wouldn't be her, would it? Imagine if I did Felicity Fizz doing the housework wearing clothes.
Yeah, not normal.
You'd think this is wrong. This is not her. So yeah, I don't know. I just when you're developing a character, you've got to get to know the character. As if you're getting to know a friend, you've got to start recognizing that, it's, she's worn that before, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I've worked with licensing agent in the past, and they've asked for things for characters which were like a style guide. And that's what they do when a character is actually taken up. I mean, unfortunately, mine didn't get taken on, but you would basically put together this guide, and it would say where the characters live, their traits of their personality. So it's basically like what you've just been saying about Felicity Fizz, but it would be put down in writing. It will be the colours you've used to create her, what sort of line weight you've used, and then you'd also have the characters shown in different positions. So you'd have a front on view, a side view, a back view, and a 3/4 view. And then you might also show, if they're a complex character, mine tend to be simple kind of kids ones, but you might then have a page of expressions or something. So you'd basically have this whole style guide. And the idea behind that would be that somebody else could pick it up and do anything with your character. They would know what it should look like.
Yeah.
It's like a style Bible.
Yeah.
But it could also work for yourself. You could do one for yourself so that you knew that every time you drew her face and she looked happy, this is how she would look. So yeah, that's what I would do.
So we've got Cummins Nell, which I presume is Nell Cummins, actually.
I think so. Yeah.
She says, "This is fabulous, KITC. I'm interested if you think it's okay to only sell limited edition prints of your work and not always the original too." And I would say yes. Why not? If you don't want to sell your original, why not? Absolutely. I mean, I sell limited edition prints of my work. I always keep them. Well, to date, I've only kept them to sort of 25 each because I still want those prints to be special and not something that everyone, can get. Do you know what I mean? So by having a limited amount, it makes them still unique to a point where hardly anyone's got them. But yeah, no, if I wanted to keep the original, then I just would. I don't see a problem with that at all. Do you, Tara?
No, I mean, definitely. I even think sometimes, it might be less hassle just to sell prints. I know that sounds funny, but
And actually,
no,
if you've
but
got a print that the only person that's still got the original is the artist, could make it even more of a, something precious. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. And also, if you're doing prints, depending on doing, because obviously you're getting them printed nearby, aren't you? When you do
Yeah.
yours, you have someone photograph your paintings. But if, say, you're using an online service that prints them for you, it means you don't necessarily have to handle them yourself. You might get an example printed and sent to you,
Yeah.
but it means that you can almost just leave it to run itself, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that, I think that's kind of a good way of doing things. But yeah, and also if you get someone like a digital artist, well, they aren't going to have an original, so the only way they can sell their art is by creating prints.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have another one.
I do. This is from Egg Bunny. Do you follow the art prompts you create yourselves, or mostly enjoy creating them? Creating them.
Well, I don't follow them, but I do like coming up with them. And the prompts, they're only optional anyway. They're if you can't think of something yourself. So you're like, oh, actually, I really am a bit sort of, I can't think. What am I going to do? So you think, oh, actually, I'll just look at the prompt. That'll give me an idea. But you don't have to use the art prompts. But no, I don't use them. Do you?
Well, you have used prompts in the past, haven't you?
I've used, oh, yeah.
You've talked about how you've done paintings with a friend and you used to set each other prompts.
Yeah. I was presuming she meant within picking the creatives challenges, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
they are very helpful, aren't they, prompts? Because they can make you think outside the box. Because you might, if the prompt say is bark, you might have someone drawing something about a dog and somebody else doing a tree, something about a tree. You can take things in different ways, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, when we first started kicking the creatives, I used to follow the prompts when I first started drawing by hand, and that was good because it got me trying out different things. I perhaps wouldn't have drawn otherwise.
Yeah.
But once I discovered I like drawing faces, I don't now follow the prompts. Although I do sometimes write myself some prompts. So I might write myself something saying like, "Oh, double exposure." As in, what would it look like if I drew a face that looked like it had been double exposed?
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? So I might create myself some, but I wouldn't actually use the kicking the creatives ones necessarily. Yeah. So, yeah, that was it. They're good if you're stuck, I think.
Yeah. This is from Egg Bunny too. How do you find the time to balance following an art prompt with your daily life? So I'm guessing you mean following the challenges. Well, I spend a lot of time creating the challenges, which doesn't leave me much time to actually do them, a lot of them. But when I have time to create myself, then to be honest, I tend to concentrate on my paintings. I tend to use the challenges under specific circumstances. So, for example, when I had an art block, they've really helped me for things like that. What about you, Tara?
Yeah, I rarely follow the prompts now, but I do think if you are going to follow prompts, you can work them around your daily life. So, make everything a 5-minute drawing if you haven't got much time. I don't think you have to be so fixed on things. So if you've committed, well, then you've only got 5 minutes a day. You either do a 5-minute drawing or you spend 5 minutes a day on a drawing that builds up over the months. So I think definitely adapt things to you.
So we also have a question from Jean Jones Bateman, who is Paul's auntie and Jeremy's mum. And she asks, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be? So Tara, where would it be?
Well, I think I'd like to live in England in the summer, somewhere near the coast. I don't necessarily know where. Then I'd
Oh, you see,
like
I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say you'd come and live in East Sussex so that we could have a little office together.
but I'd like to. I mean, Devon's lovely in Cornwall.
Mm.
But then I'd like to move further south for the winter, but I'm not sure where. Maybe Spain or somewhere. As I hate the dark nights and the cold, but I haven't really got any specific places really.
See,
How about you?
I like seasons. I like having um, a summer and a winter and an autumn and a spring. I love the different seasons. So I love flopping around in a sundress and flip flops, but I also love wearing a big cozy jumper and sitting in front of a log fire. And I'd really miss that. I mean, I've always loved the idea, doesn't everyone, of moving to Australia because it's all the weather is amazing. But I know that a lot of people that actually live there find it incredibly difficult that it's that hot all the time and the humidity and all the rest of it. So to be honest, I think we're pretty lucky to live where we are. It's not a dangerous place to live. Most of the people here just want a nice, peaceful life. We don't have any animals that want to kill us. Yeah, so I think we're fairly lucky. If I had to, I mean, I'm lucky. I live. They call it the Sunshine Coast where I live. It's probably the warmest part of England. So right on the south coast. If I had to move somewhere else in England, yeah, Cornwall, Devon, that kind of
Not
area would be
Kettering.
beautiful. No. No, see. I love
So
the
we could have a
sea.
studio together.
No,
Not shared.
we both
Two.
moved to Cornwall.
Could do, can we? Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I think we're pretty safe here, and we're pretty accommodating, and it's generally peaceful. If you walk down the street at night, you're not likely to be held at gunpoint. Yeah, so I think England, we've got it quite good, to be honest. Anyway, so you've got another question.
Yeah, I've got one from Carla Hawk, and it is: how do you get past discouraging marks?
Marks or remarks?
Oh, remarks. Sorry, discouraging remarks.
I haven't had
So,
any of those for a long time. I think as artists, it helps to have a thick skin, though, because not everyone's going to appreciate your art. If it was an online troll, then I think I'd just ignore them, to be honest. But no, I've been lucky. I haven't had any for. I think when I first started out, I used to be very, very sensitive to them. Maybe I just don't notice now. I don't know. What
Maybe you've
about
got that
you?
thick skin. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
I think you have to decide if the person's actually worth listening to
Mm,
first,
mm.
because if they're not, you may as well just put it back to your mind, even though that's really hard. If they are worth listening to, see if there's anything constructive you can take from it.
I mean, I suppose as well, it depends whether you mean discouraging marks as in remarks. I'm saying it now. Discouraging remarks as in being not enjoying your work and saying that they don't like your work, or if you mean discouraging as in they're discouraging you to do it in perhaps the style you're doing. Because I've had that before where especially in the beginning, really discouraged to paint in a realism style. But that's what, and in that case, I ignored it completely because that's what I wanted to do. And I was just like, well, I don't care really whether you think I should be looser or this or that. I don't care. This is what I love doing, and why would I do any different just for the sake of what other people want? It's just I want this painting to be what I want it to be, not what someone else wants it to be. So yeah, I pretty much just ignore anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the worst remarks I had, it wasn't about art, it's about graphic design, but I was literally, and I've mentioned this before, I literally just near the end of my college for graphic design, and my tutor suggested I go to see this company just to, chat about my portfolio and stuff. So I arranged it, and I had an interview with them, and they basically told me I wasn't up to being a graphic designer and would be lucky to get a job in a print shop.
That's just
Yeah.
cruel, isn't it?
Which is just totally, totally cruel. And what would have been far better would for them to encourage me and suggest good learning material. Because it's just like, what good has that done me? I've just done a 2-year course to learn graphic design.
Yeah.
My tutors obviously think I'm good enough because they've sent me here because, they were encouraging. So what is the point in you telling me this?
Exactly.
It does nothing.
Also, Carrier Hawk, she also
Carla.
asks, is it Carla? Carla Hawk.
Yeah.
How do you get past feeling no inspiration? So, Tara, you start.
I don't really have that problem at all with art, but I did for graphic design. I think good ways of getting past not having ideas is to create a mood board.
Yeah.
Or to create a mind map and let your mind and your ideas drift. But we've got loads of ideas, haven't we, in episode 92, which is idea generation techniques for art ideas.
My answer would be a break. Sometimes helps. Just a small one, not too long, a couple of weeks. Visiting local art galleries. That's one of my favourite things to do when I'm sort of going through a period of no inspiration. Reading art books. Who doesn't love an art book? I mean, I just love art books, and it's just not the same on a Kindle. You've got to have the proper ones, that you turn the page, and watching art related programs. So yeah, all of those things. So at least if I'm not actually doing it, I'm still absorbing it in some way, and that usually gets me rushing back to the easel. So the next question is from Stephen Foy. We've had a lot of family members, commenting on this, because Stephen Foy is our brother-in-law, Paul's sister's husband. He says, if the formula for area equals pi times the radius squared, R should stand for the radius measurement of the circle, meaning the formula is area equal to pi r squared. So, working from that, how many crisps should you get in a 300-gram packet, whole ones included?
Yeah, and for the Americans, that is chips. That's a bag of chips.
Oh, bag of chips, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your answer then, Tara? Did you look this up?
52, yeah, 52.
Did you really look that up?
Yeah, it's 52.
Is it really?
No, I have no idea.
I asked my Google Home speaker, and I can't air what the words that came back to me were. It was two. Really? It was two of them.
No.
No, I did ask Siri, I don't know, what do you mean? Or here is a website on Pi. So, yeah, sorry, Steve. I'm really sorry. Do you know what? I really wanted to be clever and come back.
I don't think there is an answer somehow.
No, I wanted to be clever and try and answer it with a really
but
clever.
Tell him it's 52.
It's 52, okay. Anyway, that is the final question. So I think we had so many, didn't we? Absolutely loads. And I suppose this is the point, isn't it, where we would usually read out a question for you listeners out there, but obviously this is going to be another long episode, so we're going to ask the question in our next normal episode with the two of us instead. In fact, the next episode is not going to be the two of us, is it? It's going to be an interview with Nick George. Anyone who hasn't seen Nick George's work, look him up online. He is amazing. He does faces, doesn't he, Tara? And I've got to say, he's quite hot as well. He's
got nice abs.
Oh my gosh, his art is eye candy. But if you think his art is eye candy, I mean, he's way too young. So when does actually Nick George's episode air? Because isn't this the last one that we're recording with the two of us before Christmas?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So Nick, I think we're going to air Nick on the 10th of January. So I suppose we need to say Happy Christmas to everyone, don't we? Or Happy Holidays.
So shall we start singing now?
No, let's just say Happy Christmas and Happy Holidays.
So dull.
I'll let you sing if you want to go for it.
No, I'd only want to do it as a duet. We do everything together.
We'll
Happy Christmas, everyone. Happy Christmas, everyone. And yeah, we do take a break over Christmas. It's pointless us airing an episode right on pretty much Christmas and New Year, because none of you are going to be able to listen because you'll be too busy having fun. So, but meanwhile, you can always pop over to our website at kickinthecreatives.com to find out how you can take part in some of our upcoming creative challenges. And of course, there you can also subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And just a reminder, the next episode will be the two of us talking about normal things, not the ask anything thing. And if you are enjoying the podcast, we would be really, really grateful if you would leave us a little review on iTunes. Consider it a Christmas present to Tara and I, or even just a star rating if you don't have much time.
Yeah, if you do have any ideas for subjects as well that you'd like us to cover, obviously drop us a message with those, because we're always interested in hearing that.
Yeah.
And don't forget to check out our courses. We've got, I'm actually a guest artist in Let's Face It, and you can find that at kickingthecreatives.com/Let's Face It. That's a portrait drawing course. I think there's 27 artists, and that lasts over the whole year. That's an affiliate link, so we do get a commission if you use that link, which helps support Kicking the Creatives.
Again, a Christmas present. And if you enjoy what we do and you'd like to help support us here at Christmas at Kicking the Creatives, you can now support us by buying a coffee, and you can find the link on our website. So we will be back in the new year, and it's been a fabulous year. Thank you so much to everyone for listening, and obviously if you do miss us that much, you can always go back and have a look at our last 101 episodes, and perhaps you'll find one you haven't heard before. So one of my favorites was general art tips. I think that's a good one. Got any favorites, Tara, you can recommend?
I like the idea ones, I think.
The idea generation ones, yeah. So have fun with those, and we will see you back on the 10th.
Yep. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, perhaps you'd like to share it and leave a review for us on iTunes. Back soon.